So you're a Medicare recipient and you just received a letter saying you've been denied for a service that's already been performed by your transplant center and they're trying to charge you? No. Go ahead and stay tuned. Hey folks, welcome to Transplant Helper again today. My name is Jim Merle. Maybe you've been where I am right now, and that is you just opened the mail for the day and you found a terrifying letter. A letter that basically says that I've had an echocardiogram, x-rays, a heart cath even, and yet now Medicare doesn't want to pay for it. No way I'm paying for it. But what do I really need to know about such? Well, actually, more times than not, and this is not always a case, and by the way, if you have some other insurance company besides Medicare, it may very well not be the case. But more times than not, if you'll just settle down, take a deep breath, you're going to find out that actually you're not going to be held liable or responsible for that bill. But what you really have to do is just to take that deep breath, back up and start reading what for me happens to be today, I don't know, about 12, 15 pages of document. Yeah, it wouldn't even fit in a note letter real good. But anyway, basically it starts off by telling me all the services here that Medicare has decided not to pay for. Of course, I don't really want to hear about that, so I'll throw it aside. The next page basically goes through a lot of coding, a lot of things that I don't really understand that says, here's why we made the decision that we're not going to pay for it. Again, I don't understand that. I throw it aside. Finally, I get down to what is about the third page or so here, and it starts talking about who will be responsible for this bill. Now, I'm going to read just a couple of lines out of each paragraph here, and we'll talk about them as we go. But here's what it basically says. The first line right here says, after determining that this item or service will not be covered by Medicare, we must then determine who is financially responsible for this item or denied service. Yeah, you better figure that out. The next paragraph down says, if the beneficiary was informed by the provider that the supplier in writing in advance receiving the item of the Medicare may not make payment through this, and it says through a receipt of advanced beneficiary notice, whatever, the beneficiary may be responsible for the cost of the denied item or service. Now, we got to make a few things clear here. Number one, you are the beneficiary. Yeah, that. I'm the beneficiary in this case, and it says I may be held liable if my transplant center told me up front before it ever began, you may have to pay for this. We may not get Medicare to pay. But here's the thing. They rarely ever do that, okay? And if they do, I'm probably not even going to have the procedure done in most cases. These are not elective procedures we're talking about with transplant. You know as well as I do, these are do or die situations. Now, next paragraph says, there is no evidence to indicate that the provider notified the beneficiary in advance that this item or service would not be covered by Medicare. I like that. They said they didn't tell me, and I know they didn't. Therefore, we have determined that the beneficiary, that's me again, did not know that we could reasonably have been expected to pay for the service not covered. Yeah, I like that line too. Drop down to the last paragraph. Since the provider has determined that they had no knowledge of the non-coverage item, the provider is liable for the cost. Provider is the hospital, the doctors. I'm the beneficiary. The provider may not bill the beneficiary for the cost of the denied item or service and must, listen to this, call the wife and kids, tell them we're going to supper. And they must refund any monies collected from the beneficiary. You hear that? What they're saying is if I went in for these procedures, echo, x-rays, cath, whatever, and as I went in, say the doctor told me, okay, your patient responsibility is going to be $150, and I paid that copay, if you will. What they're saying is that after the insurance company denied it, and after the insurance company decided and deemed that I could not be held responsible, but yet it was the case that the provider or the hospital was responsible, now they got to give me my money back. And so the monies I've spent, the copays, whatever, or if I've been paying on this bill, maybe I've been paying $20 a month for 3 months before this denial comes up, they got to give that money back. So actually, this can be a win-win situation. Now, again, let me be clear. It may not be the case with your insurance company. This is Medicare I'm dealing with. And the gist of what was said is they're not paying. So they have to decide whether the provider or hospital or beneficiary, that's me, are responsible. And because the hospital did not notify me in advance in writing that I may have to pay the bill, they're stuck with it. It's all their responsibility. So you see, there's not a whole lot of reason to panic here. And generally speaking, yeah, I'm going to keep these documents. My hospital has a copy. They've got every right to appeal. I'm going to put this away and keep it in a safe place, but I'm not worried about it. So just don't panic. Let it go. And I think you'll be all right. I appreciate you joining me today on the Transplant Helper. This program, I try every single time to provide you with content which will either advocate, educate, or motivate you as a transplant patient. Maybe this has done the latter two, at least, and I'd be happy to advocate for you if I could help. But anyway, I appreciate you joining me today. If this program's helped you out, give me a big thumbs up. How about checking out a few of the videos up here on the side of the screen? I'll be putting them in just a moment. And while you're there, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for joining me today. Until next time, stay stronger, friends.